The ocean keeps many secrets: shipwrecks, lost cities, forgotten treasures. But sometimes it takes people, without a warning, without a trace. In December of 1900, 3 experienced lighthouse keepers disappeared from a remote island off the coast of Scotland. No bodies were ever found. No farewell message was ever written. No one witnessed what happened. More than a century later, their disappearance remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. Our story begins far from busy ports and crowded cities. In the cold waters of the North Atlantic lie the Flannan Isles, a small group of rocky islands constantly battered by powerful winds and enormous waves. For centuries, local fishermen avoided the islands after sunset. Ancient legends claimed strange spirits wandered among the cliffs. Whether anyone believed those stories hardly mattered. The sea itself was dangerous enough. To reduce the number of shipwrecks, a lighthouse was built on Eilean Mòr, the largest island in the group. Completed in 1899, it quickly became one of the most isolated lighthouse stations in Britain. Life there demanded discipline. 3 keepers rotated duties around the clock. Every evening, the great lantern had to be lit. Its beam guided ships safely through one of Scotland's most dangerous stretches of coastline. The work was repetitive, but absolutely essential. A single mistake could cost dozens of lives. The keepers were experienced professionals. James Ducat served as the principal keeper. Thomas Marshall was known for his reliability and attention to detail. Donald MacArthur was an experienced relief keeper who had spent years working in harsh conditions. None of them were inexperienced. None had a history of abandoning their responsibilities. Then, something unusual happened. On the night of December 15, 1900, the crew of a passing ship noticed something disturbing. The lighthouse was dark. Its powerful light, which should have been visible for miles, never appeared. At first, captains assumed poor weather was responsible, but the darkness continued. Days passed, still no light. On December 26th, the relief vessel Hesperus finally reached the island. Captain James Harvey expected a routine crew change. Instead, he found complete silence. No one waited at the landing dock. No welcoming signal was raised. No voices echoed across the cliffs. One crew member stepped ashore and walked toward the lighthouse alone. He had no idea he was about to discover one of history's greatest unsolved nightmares. As the relief keeper climbed the stone path, an uneasy silence filled the island. The only sound came from the wind crashing against the cliffs below. When he reached the lighthouse, the main door was closed, but it was not locked. He stepped inside. No one answered his call. The kitchen looked strangely undisturbed. Half of the daily routine appeared frozen in time. The lamps had been cleaned and refilled. The beds had been slept in. The clock had stopped. Yet the 3 keepers were gone. One detail immediately caught everyone's attention. 2 sets of heavy waterproof oilskins were missing. One remained hanging on its hook. It appeared that 2 men had gone outside, properly dressed for the storm, while one had left without his protective gear. For experienced lighthouse keepers, that made little sense, especially during dangerous winter weather. Captain James Harvey ordered a careful inspection of the entire island. The search party explored every path, every cliff, every storage building. They called the keepers' names again and again. Nothing. No footprints. No bodies. No sign of a struggle. The lighthouse itself showed no evidence of violence. There were no broken doors, no blood, no damaged furniture. It was as if the three men had simply disappeared. Attention then turned to the official lighthouse log. The entries written by Thomas Marshall were deeply unsettling. Several days before the disappearance, the journal described an unusually powerful storm. One entry claimed the winds were the strongest the keepers had ever experienced. Another noted that one man had been unusually quiet. A later entry suggested they had prayed together while waiting for the storm to pass. Finally, the last recorded note simply stated, "The storm has ended. God is over all." Those words have fascinated historians for more than a century, yet they also created confusion. Weather records from nearby areas suggested that conditions may not have been nearly as severe on those dates. Was the storm truly exceptional? Or were the keepers witnessing conditions unique to the island? Investigators also noticed storm damage near the western landing platform. Supply boxes had been smashed. A heavy storage crate had been displaced. Iron railings were bent. These were not small objects. Enormous waves would have been required to move them. The evidence suggested that the sea had unleashed tremendous force against the island. But it still did not explain one crucial question. Why would all three experienced keepers leave the safety of the lighthouse at the same time? Lighthouse regulations usually required at least one keeper to remain inside. Leaving the station completely unattended would have violated standard procedure. Unless something extraordinary had happened. The mystery only deepened, because every clue seemed to answer one question while creating another. And somewhere beyond those towering cliffs, the North Atlantic remained silent. The official investigation began soon after the island was searched. Robert Muirhead, a superintendent from the Northern Lighthouse Board, carefully examined every detail. He interviewed witnesses, reviewed the lighthouse logs, inspected the damaged landing platform. His conclusion was cautious, but clear. The most likely explanation was a tragic accident. According to Muirhead, one or two keepers may have gone outside to secure equipment after violent waves struck the western landing. The third keeper, seeing his colleagues in danger, likely rushed out to help. Then, an enormous wave crashed against the cliffs, powerful enough to sweep all three men into the freezing Atlantic Ocean. It was a logical instruction. The damage on the island supported it. Yet many people remained unconvinced. Experienced lighthouse keepers understood the dangers of the sea. They knew never to stand too close to exposed cliffs during heavy weather. Why would all three make the same mistake? That question kept the mystery alive. Over the years, new theories emerged. Some suggested an unexpected rogue wave. Unlike ordinary waves, rogue waves can appear suddenly, towering far above the surrounding sea. Modern science has confirmed that these rare waves are real. Even experienced sailors can be caught completely by surprise. Another theory proposed that one keeper fell first. The other two instinctively ran to rescue him. In only a few seconds, all three were overwhelmed by the sea. Others looked beyond natural explanations. Stories spread across Scotland of ghost ships, strange lights, and supernatural forces haunting the Flannan Isles. Ancient island legends were revived. Some claimed mysterious spirits had taken the men. Others believed they had simply vanished into the fog. These tales captured the public imagination, but no evidence has ever supported them. Most historians continue to favor a natural explanation. Even so, certainty remains impossible. No bodies were ever recovered. No eyewitness ever came forward. No final message explained what happened that day. The Atlantic kept its secret. More than a century has passed. The lighthouse still stands on Eilean Mòr. Its stone walls have endured storms, winter winds, and endless waves. Visitors who reach the island often describe an overwhelming silence. It is easy to imagine the three keepers walking those same paths, checking the lantern, watching the sea, completely unaware that history was about to remember them forever. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not how they disappeared, but how quickly ordinary lives became an extraordinary legend. 3 men left the lighthouse. None returned. No final goodbye. No trace. Only unanswered questions carried by the wind across the North Atlantic. Some mysteries end with a discovery. Others end with an explanation. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse Mystery offers neither. Only an empty lighthouse, an endless ocean, and a silence that has lasted for more than 100 years. Perhaps somewhere beneath those cold Atlantic waters, the final answer still waits. Until then, the disappearance of the 3 lighthouse keepers remains one of history's greatest marketplace.